Hi, I'm Jo from Spoilt Rotten Beads. Welcome to another one of our show and tell sessions. A little while ago we taught you, or we showed you how to do the normal spiral rope weave, and then a couple of weeks ago we gave you the flat spiral, and today we're going to do the double spiral, which is a bit like two of your normal spiral ropes intertwined and twisted together, only you do them both at the same time. You're not making two separate ones and then twisting them together. To make the double spiral, you don't have to use exactly the same size beads as I'm using here. For this one, I've used two different colours in the size 11 seed beads and two different colours in our little mini rondelle crystals and one size 8. The size 8 forms the core through the middle and you don't even see it. You don't see that core bead at all. But in this one that I made, again, I've used two different colours of the size 11s and then I've edged it here with a 3mm fire polish bead, and they're just as sparkly as the crystals, so you don't have to stick to exactly the same size beads that I'm using. It will obviously alter the width and the thickness of the bracelet that you make. You also don't need to stick to the number of beads I'm going to use in each loop. If you use less beads, you're going to get a slimmer bracelet. I also just want to say that all these techniques that we're showing you, the normal spiral, the flat spiral and the double spiral, we've made them all into bracelets because that's quick to show you on the video, but they are equally good as necklaces as well. Other items you're going to need is a size 10 beading needle, a length of fire line thread, a toggle clasp, and some little scissors just to snip your thread at the end. So you start by cutting yourself a workable length of fire line. If you make that too long, you're going to get very knotted and very frustrated. We're not going to have a stopper bead this time, and you'll see why in a moment. I'm going to start by adding on 5 of my size 8 seed beads. And then I'm going to start on one of my colours. It doesn't matter which colour I start with. I'm going to go with the turquoise. 5 size 11s followed by 1, and I'm using a contrasting crystal here, and another 5 size 11s. So everything is done in multiples of 5 except for those little crystals. So I've got 5 8s, 5 11s, 1 crystal, 5 11s. And I'm going to move those down to the bottom of my thread, leaving myself about a 20 centimeter tail so that I can add my toggle at the end. Those 5 size 8s are going to act as my stopper bead. I'm going to bring my needle from the bottom, and each time I do this now I'm going to be going through 5 size 8s. And I come all the way through those size 8s, leave the 11s, pull the needle through, and there you've got your first loop, your first colour. Every time I do a colour, I want to be working on the right hand side of those core beads. So I'm now just going to turn that round because I'm going to add my second colour in now. And again, I'm working in multiples of 5, so 5 size 11s, 1 contrasting crystal, and another 5 size 11s. And as I've only got those 5 size 8s, those are the 5 I need to go through once more. So from the bottom to the top and pull through. So you've got a loop of your alternate colours on opposite sides there. I'm going to flip once more because I'm going to add my next turquoise loop. But before I add the turquoise, I need to add one more size 8. So I'm going to pop this down. One more size 8 onto my core. And I am always going to bring my needle through the top 5 size 8. So you need to count back from the top. And when you start, it's really easy because you haven't got that many beads. So I'm going to add my 5 11s. A crystal. And 5 11s.
Oh.
So I want the side that I'm working on, I want on the right hand side. And I'm going to bring my needle, I'm now skipping out that first size 8 because I'm just going through the top 5 and I want to include that one that I've just added. And I'm going to pull my thread through. And you'll see that that loop is now sitting just on top of the one underneath. So I'm going to flip over, and without adding another 8, I'm going to do the salmon color. Each time you're going to do the turquoise and then the salmon before you add another size 8. So 5 of the 11s, crystal, and another 5 11s, and my salmon is on the right hand side again, and I'm going to take my needle through the top 5 size 8s. Pull my thread through. Just make sure it's sitting on top of the loop that you did previously. And so you continue. You're going to flip it over because I'm adding turquoise next. Now that's on my right, and I need to add my next 8. So I've done the 2 sides and it's time to add on another 8. And you're back to your 5s. 5 of the turquoise, a crystal, another 5 of the turquoise, and I'm coming through the top 5. So you count from the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 through those size 8s, and you'll see it sitting on the top. I'm going to flip over, not adding another 8 until I've done the salmon. And another 5 of those. And through those same top 5 size 8. Sometimes you just need to give your needle a bit of a wriggle to get it through those top 5. Now at the moment, because this is still a very new weave, you can't really see the spiral happening. But I'm going to continue in that vein and come back to you a bit later when I've got a bit more of a spiral going, because that core is going to disappear and you'll find that you need to separate things a bit like that so that you can get to your size 8 beads, but that's not a problem, and that'll be a lot more evident a bit later on. So there's the beginnings of my spiral. Before we go any further, just in case you're worried that you might forget where you are and then do the wrong side first, it's really easy to see. If you look here, you'll see that that salmon is in line with the turquoise there. So I know I've done both sides and it's time to add a size 8. If you go back one, you'll see that row of salmon is a lot lower than the turquoise, and you'll know that you've got to work on the salmon side. So it's really easy. You're not going to lose your place, and I'll get back to you a bit later. Welcome back. I've stopped at this point here to show you how these two are not balanced. So I have just added on the turquoise and you can see the salmon is not meeting it, so I know that I need to add my salmon for 5 of the seed beads, 1 crystal and 5 of the seed beads. You can see the spirals really starting to take shape now. And at this stage it can be difficult to see all the way down to the 5th bead, so you need to separate your beads a bit. If you separate them, you can see the whole way down the core. but it will eventually close up again and form your spiral. So coming down 5 from the top, I'm going in that one and coming all the way through those top 5 seed beads. And if I pop that down, you'll see those two are lying even now, they're balanced, so you know that it's time to flip over and add a size 8 and continue. Another little tip, as you're going along, you might get a bit annoyed that the spiral's not sitting perfectly. What I did constantly was I just rolled it on the mat like this, and it just evened out the spirals a bit and made it look a little bit better. I'm going to show you how to add on the clasp from the other end. My thread is coming out of that first size 8 I popped on there. And all I'm going to do is pick up 3 size 8s, one end of my clasp, another 3 size 8s, and I'm going to come back down a couple of those and pull tight. And I'm now going to tie a series of those half hitch knots, just so that the knot falls between those beads. That's one. I'm catching the thread between those 2 size 8s and then doing another knot, and then you can just thread your needle if you can still get it in, because it's quite full of thread now in those size 8s. Thread it back down a few more size 8s, and you can repeat with another series of knots before trimming off your thread. And you'd obviously do the same on the other side when you've finished and you've got your length, remembering to take the width of your clasp into account. Don't make it too big, and you'll pop on the other end. Hope you've enjoyed that. Bye.